Hey everyone, and welcome to February's free CRM webinar. So excited to have you join us. Today we're going to be talking about data-driven decision-making. Everything in 2022 that we're doing is centered around the new book, CRM or Die. If you don't have your copy, head on over to the website and get yourself a copy. But if you don't, it's totally okay. You can still gain something from today's webinar. Let's go ahead and jump in. Like I mentioned, we are going to be talking about data-driven decision-making. I'm Courtney Kearney, founder and owner of C. Kearney Consulting. Thank you so much for joining me for the next 30 minutes. If you want to scan the QR code on your screen, you will be redirected to the CRM or Die website. There you can purchase the book, check out all of the content and the sneak peeks that we've made available. You can access the book resources if you have purchased the book. Once you put in the batch number, which is found on the very last printed page in the bottom left-hand corner, you can access resources that are supplemental to the book. You can also spread the word if you want to share about the book or write a review. And then finally, you can also take the CRM self-assessment quiz. The idea behind this is it is the data and the analytics to mark your CRM journey and the progress that you're making. So you can take it before and after reading the book. Then you can take it once a quarter after that so that you can show your progress on your CRM and data journey. Now, titling the book CRM or Die might seem extreme. However, firm leaders must embrace that properly managing your client relationship is vital to your business. If you do not nurture your existing client relationships and gain new ones, your business will cease to exist. Now, the cover came to fruition. Some of you might have participated in the voting. And when we read Kevin Hebblethwaite's quote, we absolutely knew that this was the cover. It is not about sudden death. It is a slow evaporation into irrelevance. Most clients who depart don't tell us that they're doing so. They do it quietly. They just fade off into the distance. They don't return phone calls, or they are dissatisfied on one project, so they don't select us for another one. They just stop over time. It's not a sudden death. But the really painful part, Kevin says, is that this situation could be happening to you right now and not even realize it. Today, we're going to be talking about Chapter 2, Data-Driven Decision-Making, but on the next several months, we're going to be talking about the subsequent chapters. So you want to make sure to register for those, and they are on the second Tuesday of every month and free. The third Thursday of the month, we're also having a forum, facilitated discussions. At the end of every chapter, we have a list of questions to go with that topic. So we're going to be going through those list of questions. Again, if you haven't read the chapter, it's totally okay to come and participate and meet with your fellow AEC marketers, business developers to discuss CRM and data management. We also have a ton of free resources out on the website to go check out as well. Now, on to today's topic of data-driven decision-making. One of the very most common questions that Chaz and I get all the time is, hey, just tell us which is the best CRM. And at the end of the day, our answer is always your people and your process. Because no matter which piece of technology, whether it's Salesforce, Uninet, Deltek, I don't care, insert blank here. No matter the piece of technology, if you do not have the right people and the right process in place, it will fail. The technology is only as successful as the people using it and the process you've put in place. We have broken down unlocking your CRM potential into 4 parts. Foundation, we're going to cover that today. Preparation, utilization, and thriving. Really focusing on the foundation is about understanding why you need a well-documented CRM process, why a CRM system or tool is so beneficial, why data is the future, and today's topic, why data-driven decision-making is critical. So diving into that first foundation piece, is really understanding data. One of the quotes that you'll find in chapter 1 on page 4, if you already have the book, is that data is the new oil. Doing research for the book, I absolutely loved when I read this article and fell in love with Clive's quote. And I thought, man, that is so true. But I love it even more once you really start to dig into the full quote. You might have heard this one, that data is the new oil. But if you actually listen to the entire quote that Clive gave, I think that you'll understand why I love it so much. Data is the new oil. It's valuable, but only when refined. Because data by itself is just a spreadsheet. Data by itself is just a ton of numbers in an Excel spreadsheet. It's just graphs on a dashboard. It's just records in a CRM system. It's just Excel tables. But when you refine it, that is when it becomes so powerful. It has to be changed. Oil, to be valuable, has to be changed into gas or plastic chemicals or something else. That is when it really is created into a valuable entity, and so is true of data. Data must be broken down and analyzed for it to have value. So really, data is the new oil. It's valuable, but only when refined. It has to be changed into something else. It has to be broken down and analyzed for it to have value. This is so true. But if we agree with this and we agree that data is so vital, then why is our industry not utilizing it? FMI did a study and showed that 96% of all data in our industry goes unused. What? That's crazy, but so true. And if you think about this, it's not just CRM data. It's not just the marketing and business development data. It's all of our information, whether it's from accounting or operations. So much of our data gets collected and never utilized. Now, in order to cross that hurdle and be in that other minor percentage of 14% that does utilize the data, we have to address some barriers. S&PS did a study and a survey called Marketing 2022, and they asked the question, what are the barriers to effectively using your CRM? The top ones are about data entry, lack of leadership buy-in, lack of accountability, and of course, the lack of data in the system. So you have to address these in order to get the most out of your data. We're going to talk about these, but first, I want to also address some of the data differences. There is a huge difference between data collecting and being data driven. We're really good in our industry about collecting data, making people fill out project startup forms, collecting information at project closeout, collecting. But what are we doing with that information? We might collect the contract type. Are you making any decisions based on contract type? For example, do you know your most profitable contract type? Is it negotiated? Is it lump sum? What is the most profitable contract type for your firm? If you are data-driven, then you know the answer to that question, and it means that we chase jobs that are most profitable to us. The least profitable contract types, we don't chase those jobs. Now, it doesn't mean we don't go after, we don't agree to those from time to time, but we sure don't spend the money and resources to chase those contract types. This is just one example. You can look at all of the information that you're collecting, whether it's at an opportunity stage, whether it's when a project is won, whether it's when the project is closed. If you are not making decisions based on that information, you're simply collecting, and you're collecting without a purpose. So I would urge you to stop doing that. Do not collect data for data's sake, but rather be intentional. Do an audit of your records and say, yes, we need this field turned on because we are doing this and making these decisions based on the information being populated in these fields. Or let's turn it off because no one cares. No one's looking at that information. Now, same thing with, you can be reactive to your data or you can be proactive with your data. Being reactive. We're losing money. Let's go figure out why. Or let's be proactive in tracking and analyzing things and saying, why are we trending down? Is it the outside market? What are the influences on the information that we already have and the trends that we know about our firm internally? This is proactive versus reactive. Displaying data. Hey, here's a graph. Here's a pie chart. Here's whatever on our dashboard. Versus data storytelling. Having a narrative that always corresponds with the graphic. One of the examples from the book is a pipeline. You can have a dashboard widget that forever is a funnel, regardless of how much data is at those different levels. This is a really bad thing if you don't tell a data story to go with it, because a leader can log in and say, hey, we're in a good place. We have a funnel. They would assume that that is a responsive funnel, in the sense of, if we do not have enough at the top of the funnel, that it would be inverted, or it would be misshapen, or it would be shaped to however that funnel is, the data that is used to create that funnel. If you are not controlling the data story, then you're letting every user that looks at a dashboard or a display of data make up their own story. What information are they looking at? Are they looking at a pipeline or a funnel of all open projects? Are they looking at a pipeline or a funnel of things created this month, this quarter, this year? Always try to tell your users as much of the story as you can when they're looking at graphs or charts or reports, so that everybody is on the same page and understands the story that the data is telling. The last piece, data diet versus lifestyle. So we all know this if you have anything to do with trying to be fit or live a healthy lifestyle. There is a crash diet that you can do twice a year, maybe more often, or you can live a healthy lifestyle. The diet, when it comes to data, you can have an annual meeting for your company and run all of your analytics. What was our hit rate? How profitable were we? How is this office doing? How is this profit center doing? Once a year, that's a crash diet. And then you never look at it again until the next year's annual meeting. How was our hit rate? How was our profitability? Or you can see data as a lifestyle, and you are looking at those analytics month over month, year over year. What are our trends? What is our company doing? Now, this does not have to change your culture internally. This can add to your culture and allow you to have some hard evidence that can back up those gut feelings. But it doesn't have to change your internal culture unless you want it to. There are people who push back and say, whoa, Courtney, we've got a really good people first culture. We don't want to be data robots. I'm not suggesting that you be a data robot, but I do suggest looking at your information long-term, ongoing, instead of crash diets. Now, if you become data-driven instead of data collecting, proactive instead of reactive, really lean into data storytelling, and you're living a lifestyle that is data-driven, this is how you create a culture of data stewardship. In addition to the information previously discussed, we also need every single employee, every single team member to understand that they have a data role. We're going to go over those 6 data roles here in a minute, but understanding that every single person internal to your company plays a role is critical to creating a culture of data stewardship. Everybody must take responsibility for the part that they play in the data stewardship. Having a well-documented process. We're going to talk about this in a couple webinars, but for now, just understanding how information flows through your data. When you get a contact, where does it go? Who updates it? Who's responsible for that? How often is it reviewed? When a lead comes into your company, where does it go? Who does it go to? Who updates it? All of those questions and having that documented is key to creating that data stewardship so that everybody understands the process and how data and information flows through the business. Everyone must be held accountable from the top down. And leadership absolutely has got to buy in and have that accountability piece so that they understand that their actions, now they might not be in the system every day or in the system at all, but they play a vital role in making sure that the data flows accordingly by holding others accountable and by using that information to make decisions about the business. Now, those data roles that I mentioned, we've got 6 data roles: editors, auditors, analysts, consumers, leaders, and the data officer. So starting with the editors, really understanding that every person from the receptionist who handles the first impressions of your firm all the way to the CEO and everybody in between. So you've got your operations, your IT, your accounting, your marketing, your business development, everybody in between. They all play a role in entering and editing data. Whether it's you had an interaction with someone, you give someone else a lead, whatever that information is, they are responsible for entering and updating the information. Now, the auditors, those are the people who are looking for missing information, like, does every contact have an email address? Does every contact have an owner? Does every opportunity have a fee? Does every opportunity have a fee that's over $1? Because we all know people enter $1 to get past the required field. Auditing your system to make sure that the information is there, the information that's there is valid, and that the information that is there is accurate. So we need to make sure that the auditors are not bogged down with doing all of the data entry. The editors cannot all be the auditors. They have to have different roles. Now, can the auditors enter their own information? Absolutely. Can they enter all of the information for all of the company all of the time? No. Now, the analyst. These are the people who assume that all the information is there, all the information is accurate. They take that information and they turn it into insight. They put it in the spreadsheets, they make the dashboards, they make the graphs, and they tell the stories. So they say, based on all of our open pursuits, we do not have enough in our pipeline to keep the lights on. Or we have far too much in our pipeline and we're going to have a workload issue. We need to start hiring people. Or they look at the information and say, everything is great. However, we seem to be chasing a lot of work that we all agree that we're not going to chase because it's our least profitable contract type. Those are valuable people that can look at the information, turn it from a spreadsheet into something that tells a story. Now, your data consumers, those are the people that are in leadership positions that are making decisions. They're looking at what the analysts have put in front of them and saying, you're absolutely right. We need to create some sort of go, no go process so that we stop chasing work that is not profitable to us. Or we need to hold John accountable and tell him he's not chasing that K through 12 hard bid job anymore. Whatever that is, those consumers are the leaders who are looking at the work that the analyst produced. Then you've got your data leaders. Your data leaders are made up of all the previous roles. So your data leaders are the people who are putting data policies in place, the standards, the processes that are documented, and making sure that they stay up to date, because we all know that new technologies come in, you can automate certain things, you can have integrations, those all change your processes. So making sure that things aren't being assumed that they're working, but the data leaders and that data committee are making sure that they are working. And then finally, that data officer, whether that is the CDO, the chief data officer, the CIO, the chief information officer, the CMO, whoever that is in your firm, making sure that they are the ones who are cultivating that culture of data stewardship. They are holding leaders and everyone else accountable to making sure that they follow their data roles. The data officer is making sure that everything is running smoothly, and if not, what needs to be fixed or corrected along the way so that we can be a well-oiled machine that is communicating to everyone, who is efficient, who is effective, and is absolutely using our CRM and our data to our advantage and using it as our strategic competitive advantage. Now, I love this quote by Carly. She gave it at a talk when she was the head of HP. The goal of a data-driven leader is to turn data into information, information into knowledge, knowledge into insight, and insight into competitive advantage. That is what we're all after. Now, are you with me? Absolutely. The last thing that you've got to do could be one of the first things that you do if you're already maybe overwhelmed or saying, this is great, but I'm not the leader, or I don't have the buy-in of someone quite yet. Then this is where you can absolutely do some work. Documenting your CRM and data why. We talk about in chapter 6 that Stacey Abrams gave a TED Women's speech and suggests asking 3 simple questions to get to your why statement. What do you want? Why do you want it? And how do you intend to get it? So on the surface, if you're using Excel to track all of your contacts, all of your opportunities, you might say, all I want, Courtney, is a CRM tool. That's not really what you want. Dig deeper. What you want is something that, I don't know, maybe automates some of that process, that protects some of that information, that allows you to have centralized information. So it's not just on my Excel or your Excel or his Excel, but really, what are you after? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? Get to the root. Do not stay surface level and just say, I want a CRM, or I want a data, whatever. Really, what are you after? Yes, we all love the fancy Power BI dashboards, things like that. But what is it about that you love? Is it that you're able to make data visual? Is it that you're able to do that quickly? Is that because you can do that across different offices and slice and dice your information all the different ways? Dig deep and figure out what it is that you actually want. And then figure out, why do you want it? So if we take the example of, I want out of Excel and I want to be able to protect my information and make it more centralized. Okay, but why? Why? Because if we corrupt this Excel document, we will lose all of our potential business. That's a big why. Leadership will pay attention to that why. If it's because I am spending so much time updating Excel and I'm the only one who looks at it, but we need this information, but we need it to be more centralized, why? You can dig deeper and say, I spend X amount of time, which translates to X amount of dollars. And if we were to automate this, or if we were to get this tool or put this process in place, we would save the business X amount of dollars. This could be very powerful, especially when it comes to marketing. So using the example of, if you track your time on how much you're hunting and gathering the same data over and over again on proposals, how much time you're taking away from operations, asking them the same questions about projects over and over again. And if you put that into a spreadsheet and you go to your leadership and say, we are spending X amount of dollars right now, and I could save that for year over year, month over month, by getting a process and a system put in place. That is a powerful why. And then you've got to do the work to say, how am I going to get it? These are the steps that we need to put in place so that we can create that process, which is very much outlined in the book. And we're going to talk about in a future webinar. That is the how, getting those processes in place, and then getting your technology tools and things like that to support your processes and your people. Now, once you have that clear why, maybe it's we want a clear system to help us win strategic work. Then put that why everywhere. Put it up whenever you're doing your marketing training, have it front and center on your agendas. We have it in the top of our CRM system. Putting it everywhere and starting every training with your why is critical for buy-in. If I'm going to come in and say, hey, we're going to do a CRM training, I want you to fill out these 50 records or these 50 fields to input a contact. Yeah, right. But if I say our clients and our prospects are valuable to us, we want to be able to communicate with them every quarter so that they can get and hear information from us. The only way that we can do that is if they are in the system and we need these 50 fields so that we can accurately get them the information that they need. Okay, I'm on board with that. That why is very clear to me. I value our clients and our prospects, and I want them to hear from us. So now I'm willing to fill out this form. Do you see the difference? That why is very, very critical. Now, to review, today's takeaways, we talked about documenting your why and displaying it everywhere, letting it be your leading thing to training, to your marketing, business development calls. When you're discussing things with leadership, always leading with that why. That you've got to value data as an asset because data is the new oil, but only when refined. Plan before you collect. No more are the days of collecting data just for collection's sake. No, we're going to be data-driven and strategic about what we're collecting. Using data proactively to tell data stories and not just throwing charts up on displays or dashboards or PowerPoints. Viewing data as a lifestyle, long-term, not a one-time crash diet. Creating a culture of data stewardship. Doing this by establishing data roles, those 6 key data roles. Being a data champion. And finally, investing in a data officer if you don't have one. I'll leave you with this. The most important takeaway from any of the webinars that you hear this year, I want you to make sure that you know that CRM is not about a piece of technology, but rather about your process and your people. I encourage you to make this year the year that CRM and data are a success for you and your firm. This is your perfect moment to invest in your processes, to invest in understanding your why. This is your moment to take control and to act. Thank you so much for spending the last 30 minutes with us. We appreciate your time. We hope that you can join us for our CRM chat on Thursday, February 17th, 1 to 1:30 Central. We have them every month on the third Thursday. We hope that you can join us. Thank you so much.